What if the reason you feel stuck isn't a lack of talent? What if it's the exact opposite? What if your brain has become so efficient at handling your current life that it has stopped trying to expand beyond it? Think about it. There was probably a time when certain things felt impossible. Your job, your skills, your routines, the responsibilities you carry now. At one point, all of it felt difficult. Then something happened. You adapted. The challenge became familiar. The unfamiliar became automatic. And eventually, competence replaced effort. Most people celebrate that moment, but there's a hidden danger inside it. Because the moment something becomes easy, growth becomes optional. And that's where a lot of intelligent people quietly get trapped. Not in failure, incompetence. Before we go any further, let's define something. When I say genius, I'm not talking about IQ, I'm not talking about being the smartest person in the room. I'm talking about something much simpler, your ability to apply your unique perspective to solve a problem. That's it. And today we're looking at the comfort trap of intelligence, the three ways smart people accidentally trade their genius for safety, and the shift that helps them get it back. The first trap is what I call the good enough plateau. One of the advantages of being intelligent is that you can get impressive results with surprisingly little effort. You learn quickly, adapt quickly, figure things out quickly, which sounds great until you realize it creates a strange problem. You reach 80% of the result long before most people, and because 80% looks successful from the outside, you stop. Not consciously, just gradually. You stop refining, you stop experimenting, you stop questioning, you stop pushing, because the reward for going further becomes less obvious. Imagine climbing a mountain. The first half is steep. Every step produces visible progress. Then suddenly, the slope flattens. The improvements become smaller, harder to notice. That's where most people quit. Not because they're incapable of reaching the summit, because they're comfortable enough where they are. And intelligent people are especially vulnerable to this, because competence creates comfort. You become a high-functioning coasting machine, productive, capable, reliable, and secretly under-challenged. The tragedy isn't that you're failing. The tragedy is that you're succeeding just enough to stop growing. The second trap is more subtle, and it's something smart people are exceptionally good at: pattern recognition. Your brain notices what works, who succeeds, what gets rewarded, and naturally it begins copying those patterns. This is useful, it's one of the fastest ways to learn. But eventually, the strategy becomes a limitation, because instead of learning from successful people, you start becoming them. You adopt their goals, their routines, their definitions of success, their way of thinking, their version of what a meaningful life looks like. Not because it's right for you, because it's efficient. It's easier to run software that's already been tested. The problem is that genius rarely lives inside imitation. It usually lives inside the thing that doesn't make sense yet, the thing other people overlook, the thing people tell you is strange or inefficient or unnecessary. Think about your own life for a moment. What's the thing you do differently than most people? The thing you've been tempted to dismiss because it doesn't fit the standard model. Maybe it's how you think, how you learn, how you create, how you solve problems, how you connect ideas. What if that isn't the bug? What if that's the feature? Because hidden inside most forms of genius is an anomaly, something unusual, something that doesn't optimize well, something that looks inefficient from the outside. And that's exactly why it gets ignored. The third trap is safety, and this one hides behind intelligence itself. The smarter you become, the easier it is to see risk. You can see multiple outcomes, multiple failures, multiple unintended consequences. You don't just see one path, you see 10, and that sounds like an advantage, until every option starts looking dangerous. This is where analysis paralysis comes from. Not a lack of intelligence, too many simulations running at once. You become trapped inside possibility. Every move gets evaluated, calculated, measured, optimized. And eventually you choose the safest option, not because it's exciting, because it's predictable. But here's the problem. Breakthroughs rarely happen inside fully optimized systems. Genius requires a strategic mess, a certain amount of uncertainty, a willingness to try something that might not work. Because innovation isn't efficient, discovery isn't efficient, creativity isn't efficient, that the very thing that creates something new is often the thing that looks irrational in the beginning, which creates a strange paradox. We spend so much time optimizing the hardware that we forget to take risks with the software. So how do you know if you've fallen into the comfort trap? Let's do a quick audit. The first step is what I call the inefficiency challenge. Spend time doing something that doesn't scale, something that rewards craftsmanship instead of speed. Write something by hand. Build something slowly. Learn something without trying to monetize it. Create something nobody asked for. The goal isn't productivity, the goal is reconnecting with depth. The second step is questioning your defaults. Pick one area of your life and ask, am I doing this because it's the best approach, or because I'm good enough at it that nobody has complained yet? Those are very different reasons, and the difference matters. The third step is radical sincerity. Stop performing intelligence, start practicing curiosity. Be honest when you don't know something. Ask questions, admit confusion, allow yourself to be a beginner again. Because growth starts the moment image stops being more important than learning. Here's the truth: genius isn't something you have, it's something you practice. It's what happens when you refuse to let efficiency become the ceiling of your potential. It's what happens when competence stops being the destination and becomes the starting point. Most people spend their lives trying to become capable, but capable isn't the end of the story. Capable is where the real work begins. The question isn't whether you have more potential. The question is whether you've become comfortable enough to stop looking for it. So let me ask you something. Where in your life have you been settling for competence when you know you're capable of more? And what's the cost of that trade? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. The hardware is already there. Stop letting it run on low power mode, and I'll see you in the next video.